Welcome to the Idaho Fishing Report. Whether you are planning just a couple of hours or a full weekend of fishing, this is your one-stop place for all the information you need to plan your trip. It's all right here, from weather forecasts and reservoir levels to the latest stocking reports and expert advice. And now, the host of Idaho Fishing Report, Jeff Cullers.
Well, hello anglers, I am Jeff Cullers, and this is the Idaho Fishing Report for July 15th, 2022. Well, it's Idaho, it's July, it's gonna be a scorcher. But we've got a great show for you this week. Actually looking pretty good this weekend. Jordan Rodriguez talks about escaping that heat and getting up to those alpine lakes. I've got your reservoir level information, I've got your fishing tournament and stocking reports, and a little story about my trip this week to some alpine lakes. So sit back and relax. This is the Idaho Fishing Report. Let's start off as we do each and every week over in the Magic Valley. Sunset will be around 9:17 p.m. It is going to be a scorcher. Highs in the upper 90s, lower 100s, all the way through next Thursday. It's going to be sunny, sunny, sunny. There's one chance of rain on Sunday, about an 8% chance of rain, but other than that, goose eggs across the board. Winds will be 8 to 13 mile an hour through the whole week. So just keep an eye on that. Your reservoir level and boat ramp information. Lake Walcott is sitting at 97% full with an elevation of 4244. The one and only boat ramp is open. Littlewood is down this week just a little bit, 83% full with an elevation of 5228, and the Littlewood boat ramp is still open. There are no major stocking reports for the Magic Valley. However, there are some small ponds that are being stocked, so check the Fishing Game website. There's one fishing tournament to report. July 16th, the Magic Valley Bassmasters will be at Milner Lake using the Burley Golf Course. Okay, folks, it is time once again to bring in journalist, owner, and creator of Tight Lines 208 with his hot tip of the week, Jordan Rodriguez. Jordan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Jeff. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we appreciate you being here. What is that Tight Lines 208 hot tip of the week?
Well, Jeff, something I wrote about last week, and it's just it's that time of year, so I wanted to talk a little bit about alpine lakes. So high mountain lakes here that we are fortunate to have so many of here in Idaho. None super close to town, but you go about 2 hours in just about any direction, and you can find some of these hidden gems up in the mountains, almost all of which have some kind of fish populations. Some are still managed by Fish and Game, and others were stocked, who knows when, many years ago, and
Sure.
and still have kind of some naturally sustaining populations of trout. So just a couple of kind of tips here, or some rules to live by, if you will. Number one is, I get this question a lot, is when can you go? When is it ready to go? And the answer to that is not set in stone, but a good rule of thumb is after July 4th. Most of the time after July 4th, if you wait that long, you'll have better access on the trails, not as much snow, not as much mud. And that can be tough. This year it stayed cool relatively late in the season. If you remember back to last year, it was into the hundreds halfway through June.
Yep.
And that can make you feel like, oh gosh, the mountains should be wide open, but not so much sometimes. It takes a while at those higher elevations for the snow to melt and everything. So after July 4th, so now that we're in to about mid-July here, not that you won't encounter any snow at all, but most of the main trails and campground areas, if you're camping, will be relatively snow-free and good for access. Rule number two is to be smart and be safe out there. Having trail maps and things, keeping in mind that your cell phone is very unlikely to work in most of these places. I might have to go with some old school, fold up paper maps. Have a good idea where you're going, make sure people know where you're going, and pretty much exclusively, I would recommend having at least one other person with you. It's just, it's not too smart to go off into the deep woods all by yourself, just in case something happens. play it safe and have a buddy. It's more fun to fish with a buddy anyway, right?
Absolutely.
And then thirdly, for me, I really, really, really enjoy fishing out of a float tube or some kind of watercraft in these high mountain lakes. And I think many people listening may understand when I say that the access from the bank is not always the best.
Right.
Sometimes these mountain slopes just drop off right into the water, and there's not a lot of good footing, or it could be overgrown around the edges and difficult to cast, especially if you're using fly gear. And some of them have kind of these weird shorelines that just go out for, quite a ways of being like shallow mud flats or super weedy. And you just can't really get to where the fish are unless you're able to get out beyond that. So it can be a little chilly, but this time of year it's usually nice and warm, even up in the mountains. So kicking around in a float tube or whatever you're able to pack in there that gives you that access is really the key. And for me, those are really the keys. Honestly, when you start fishing, it shouldn't be hard. If it is hard, then you're probably fishing a lake that doesn't have a lot of fish in it. And those lakes do exist. The good thing being that usually when you're at a mountain lake, there's several others within reasonable hiking distance. So I would say if you're having a hard time, bag it and go somewhere else, because when you get into these lakes, usually the fish are very hungry, very active, very willing to feed, because this short window of angler access just so happens to coincide with their window of feeding.
Sure.
And that's a great combination. So all kinds of flies, spinners, spoons, bait if it's legal and you're willing to pack it in, all different kinds of fishing lures and things can get the job done. Should not be too difficult. So if it is, would recommend moving, because you might have found one of the kind of rare lakes where it's relatively sterile.
Yeah, and I don't know. You were talking about kind of the shoreline and some of those weird things, and I'm not sure if Hazard Lake, north of McCall, would be considered an alpine lake. I mean, it's definitely up in the mountains. It's one that you can drive to, but I was actually there yesterday morning, and it exactly that. There was very little bank fishing to do. You would have had to either had a kayak or a float tube or something to get out, and it's just exactly like you said. There was one section on the south end of that lake where it was just long, sloping, very weedy drop off, and it went on and on and on. And then the other section where I was actually able to get to the bank, it was a very steep drop off. And so that's exactly right. So like I said, I'm not sure if that's what you would classify. So I guess that's my question here is, what do you consider an alpine lake? Can you drive to one, or is it one you have to walk to? Kind of what's that definition of an alpine lake?
Sure. Yeah, I think, as long as it's at elevation, anything up in like the Cascade, McCall area, there's pods of lakes up around Stanley and Loman. There's pods of lakes over around Idaho City. All of those that are at elevation would be considered, alpine lakes, mountain lakes. But your question is a good one, and I guess that's an extra little pointer here that we can tack onto the list is, like many things with fishing, the harder it is to get there, probably the better results you're going to have. There are definitely more than a handful of mountain lakes where you can drive right to it or drive very close, and you just have to do the math on that and figure, those lakes are getting more visitors, more anglers, more pressure, likely more fish that are being harvested out of there. So, the quality of the fishing may suffer compared to some of the other places. If you have to hike in 2, 3, 4 miles, some places you even have to hike in, 8, 9, 10 miles. Those types of places, just by their nature, are going to be a lot less traffic, a lot less competition, a lot less presentations being made to those fish. And so generally speaking, the more work you're willing to do, the farther you're willing to go off the grid, you can really get into some good results that way. So, it's an experience. And I also understand that everyone has different levels of of, adventure and what they can physically accomplish, or maybe you're traveling with kids, and, some other limitations that you can't do a 10-mile, backpacking excursion. So, do your research, pick one that fits you, and what you're looking to accomplish, whether it's just, catching a handful of small ones, or maybe really going after it and trying to get into one of these rare tiger muskies in the mountains, or some golden trout, or, there's some kind of rare exotic species that live in some of these lakes. So you can really make of it what you want, and kind of pick a lake that suits your needs, your physical abilities, your equipment that you have, and all those things.
Yes, and of course, this week we're talking in our forecast. The temperatures are going to be hot, especially down in the high desert areas. This is a good weekend to get up in some of those alpine lakes, because it's going to be a little bit cooler up there. Well, Jordan, as always, we thank you for your wonderful advice. I think you have a class coming up here soon.
Yes, I do. On July 20th, we will be doing Catfish Are Jumping. And of course, that's all about various catfish species that we have here in Idaho rivers, lakes, and reservoirs. It's a lot of fun. We do have some seats. In fact, Jeff, let's give one away. I'm in a good mood tonight.
I love it.
Yep. Just, the usual drill. Contact Jeff and let him know you're interested, and we'll pick a winner, and we'll get you on the roster there. That's next Wednesday night, July 20th, from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn, Boise Spectrum. And if you don't happen to win, we do have some seats available if you want to buy one, and you can find those at tightlines208.com.
That's outstanding. So here's what we'll do, listeners. I'll open this up through Sunday, because I think the winner needs to know by Sunday night. So I'll draw a winner Sunday night, and we'll get an email sent out. Please respond that you've received the email and that you can take it to the class. Otherwise, we can give it to someone else. But just go to our gemstatefishing.com, go to our contest page. It's really simple. We never sell your information. We don't use it for anything nefarious. It's all just to get you into Jordan's class. And so super. Well, Jordan, we thank you for giving away that ticket and that seat. And as always, we thank you for coming on and giving this great advice.
Yes, sir. Tight lines, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. We'll see you on the water.
All right. Well, big thanks to Jordan there. And exciting news we have. We have an opportunity now. If you want to help support the show, you can do that through Patreon. We have a link on our website. Just go to gemstatefishing.com, click on the Patreon site. Here's some good news, though, listeners. If you sign up to be a Patreon, there's a lot of advantages that you get, like you will get the podcast before anybody else does. But also additionally, we're going to give you a discount to any of Jordan Rodriguez's Tightline 208 classes. Plus, we're going to give away a seat in every class that he has in the coming year, simply because you're a Patreon listener. So if you'd like to support the show, you can do it for as little as $5 a month. And you can do that to help us continue to grow, and you get some great discounts, and you also get some great advantages. So go to gemstatefishing.com, click on the Patreon page, and become an Idaho Fishing Report patron. Let's head down to the southern part of the state and the Treasure Valley. Starting over in Mountain Home, sunset will be around 9:20 p.m. Again, another scorcher. Highs in the lower 100s all the way through Wednesday, and then upper 90s on Thursday. Sunny all week long. There is a 2% chance of rain on Monday, but that is about it. Winds will be anywhere from 10 to 14 mile an hour all week, and that's pretty manageable, especially if you're going to be over at CJ Strike. Boise, same story. Highs are going to be in the lower 100s, upper 90s all week. No chance of rain over close to Boise. Sunset will be at 9:24 p.m. Winds 8 to 12 mile an hour. Let's look at those reservoir level and boat ramp information for the Treasure Valley. Anderson Ranch is currently sitting at 97% full with an elevation of 4193. All boat ramps are open. Arrow Rock is down pretty significantly this week. Elevation of 3182. However, the high and low ramp are still open. Lucky Peak has maintained its level, 99% full with an elevation of 3054. All ramps are open. Lake Lowell is down as well, 59% full with an elevation of 2523. Both ramps are still open. There is no major stocking in Treasure Valley this week. However, there are some ponds and rivers that are being stocked. So please check with Fish and Game and see if your local watering hole is getting some. Fishing tournaments for the Treasure Valley. There's 2 to report, both on July 16th. The IBU Kokanee Tackle will be at the Anderson Ranch Reservoir using the Curlew Creek, the Alpine Creek, and the Fall Creek Lodge. Also on July 16th, the Idaho Bassmasters will be at CJ Strike, and they'll be using the Caldwell ramp. That is your report for the Treasure Valley. Hey, guess what, listeners? We have a new website. That's right, it's gemstatefishing.com. Go there to check out all the links because you can get all the information we provide here. You can also contact us through the site. Let's look at some of those alpine lake conditions up in the Cascade area. Sunset will be around 9:26 p.m. Highs there will be in the upper 80s, lower 90s, so a 10 full degrees cooler up in the Cascade area. Sunny all week except for Friday, but only a 2% chance of rain, not much chance thereafter. Winds will be 8-10 miles an hour all week long. Your reservoir level and boat ramp information for the Cascade area. Cascade's down just a touch at 89% full with an elevation of 48.25. All ramps are still open. Deadwood is maintaining at 98% full with an elevation of 53.33. The Cozy Cove boat ramp is open. Man Creek also down pretty significantly this week at 78% full with an elevation of 28.80. Both the south and north ramps are open. There are no major stocking to report for the Cascade area. There's going to be one tournament at Lake Cascade, July 16th. The Intermountain Bass Anglers will be using the Boulder Creek boat ramp. Hey, do you want to be part of the show? Email us with questions or your fishing report from your last trip. You can email us at gemstatefishing208@gmail.com. Want to send me pictures of your fish? Send it to myfish@gemstatefishing.com. And if you have questions about the show or want something answered, email us at questions@gemstatefishing.com. Let's head over to that Oregon-Idaho border and the Snake River reservoirs. Sunset will be around 9:32 Mountain Standard Time. Temperatures there are going to be about the same, upper 90s, lower 100s all week long through next Thursday. Sunny, sunny, sunny. There's a 4% chance of rain on Friday, a 1% chance of rain next Thursday. Winds will be 7 miles an hour every day from now until Thursday. The Brownlee water level is sitting at 2071. That's down just a little bit. However, all ramps are still open. There are no major stocking or fishing tournaments to report for the Snake River Reservoir area. Before I get into the moon phase and the grade for the week, I just want to I haven't had a chance to do this much this year because there hasn't been much time for fishing, unfortunately. I'm back in school trying to get my degree. I'm almost done with that. Can't wait till next year so I can really dedicate some time to fishing and spending some time with my wife and the dog out on the water. This week, I did get a chance to get out and visit some of those alpine lakes up north of McCall and in the Cascade area, and it was really fun to get out. I had bought myself a new kayak and I wanted to try that out, and so just had a whole lot of fun. Got up there and left Boise about 4:30 in the morning. It was still dark out, and had a nice little drive up 55. Very quiet, not a whole lot of traffic on the road at that time. In fact, I got a little treat driving up just south of Cougar Mountain Lodge, where the river is there, and there's a nice little marshy area. I looked down, and for the first time ever in the wild, I got to see a full bull moose. So really cool. He was down there. He was grazing on some of that marsh. And that was a nice little start to my morning. And it went pretty good from there. Went up to Hazard Lake, Goose Lake, Brundage. Actually able to catch quite a few rainbow out of Brundage Reservoir. Beautiful, beautiful long reservoir there. And just had a really good time. Did have one little misstep. Apparently somebody had a screwdriver that fell out of their vehicle, and I found it with the right rear tire of my truck. So fortunately, Les Schwab there in McCall got me patched up and back on the road. So thank you for that, Les Schwab, for getting me in and out in McCall. But all in all, it was a good little trip. It was a long day.
Like I said, I left here about 4:30 and didn't get home till almost 9 o'clock, but it was worth it. Got up to Warm Lake, had the kayak out there, just kind of tooled around and did some fishing off of that, which was the first time I'd ever done that. So that was also kind of a new experience, but it was a lot of fun.
You can find us on Facebook groups, or you can follow us on Twitter at Idaho_report.
Let's look at those moon phases. The last quarter will be July 20th. The new moon is July 28th. Apogee will be July 26th. All right, we're coming out of that full moon and we're working our way to the last quarter. What that means to you as an angler is that fishing may slow down some next week. Now, your best peak time over the weekend will be between 5 and 6 a.m. So get up early, anglers. That's going to be really strong, excellent, especially Friday, Saturday. It's going to be really good fishing at that time. Now, you'll have a couple more good peaks between 4 and 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. and midnight. So if you want to get out and do some after work fishing, or if you want to do some sunset fishing going into the evening, that's your best bet over the weekend. Now, as I just said, during the first part of the week, those peak times are really going to start to work their way out of the excellent and the good zones. Your best time to fish will be around sunrise. Then you'll have another good peak around sunset, but they're really going to start to soften as the week goes along. Well, that music can only mean one thing, and it's time for our grade. Can we have 2 A's in a row? My answer is yes. For this weekend, I definitely give it an A. Now, it's going to be hot. I almost went an A- because of the heat, but you know what? If you've lived here, you fished here, you know what it's like. It's July. If you're going to have a good weekend, you're going to have to get out. So either wear the sun blocking clothes or put on good sunblock and get out there. Make sure you hydrate, take a dip in the water if you're out on the boat. But it's going to be a good weekend. I highly recommend this weekend to get out. It'll go down a little bit next week. So by the end of next week, it'll probably be a B because it's going to really soften. But I give it an A for the second week in a row. Another great show is in the books, angler. We had a good show. It's going to be a hot one, as we just talked about and throughout the reports, but I think it's going to be a good weekend to get out and go fishing. You know, we're getting into the dog days of summer now. I'm going to be here to stay for a while. That heat is coming on. I think it's going to be good. We had a great talk with Jordan about those alpine lakes. You want to escape that heat? That's where you get to. Head up into the mountains, find yourself a nice lake. You want something close like Hazard Lake that you can just drive right up to. There's that. But there's some other ones that you can hike to. Get away from the heat and get away from other people. Backpack your way in and away you go. I want to thank you for being a huge part of this show. I could not do it without you. You listeners are fantastic. Don't forget, Jordan is giving away a seat in the upcoming July 20th Catfish or Jumping class. It's a class my wife and I both have attended. It's a really great class and I think you'll like it, but you need to go to my website. You need to get registered to win. I will draw the winner and email them Sunday night. I need to hear back from you as soon as possible so that if you can't go, I can get it to somebody else. Jordan was in the giving spirit, so take advantage of that and get signed up. As always, angler, I hope you have a great week. I'm Jeff Colors, and I'll see you on the water. We would like to thank you for listening to the Idaho Fishing Report, and would like to remind you to visit our website, gemstatefishing.com, or you can find us on Facebook or YouTube. I'd like to thank our sponsors, our guests, and experts, as well as you, our listener, for making this show possible. This has been an Old Man Studios production. Join us next week for another episode of the Southern Idaho Fishing Report.